Welcome back to another episode of RecTalk. I'm your host, Nitin Sharma, founder of RecTools.io and a range of other different projects that are coming to you guys soon. RecTools, for those of you who don't know, is the only whole-of-market directory for all of your recruitment supply chain needs. So whether you are a talent acquisition leader, whether you're a recruitment business owner, or whether you work in recruitment on a recruitment desk, and you're looking to find out about CRMs, applicant tracking systems, payroll providers, maybe you're looking at timesheet software, automation, maybe you want to understand what this new AI stuff is all around, head over to RecTools.io, have a little look around and play around. It's free today, tomorrow, and will always be. My guest today is somebody you'll recognise from LinkedIn. He's had quite the sort of meteoric rise recently. He did his Hoxo Academy. He passed it with flying colours, which is clearly clear for everyone to see. But yeah, you'll know him from the Fusion Search. I knew I'd get that tongue twisted. I'll say that again. You'll know him from Fusion Search. You'll know him most recently from Beyond the Founder, both the podcast and the business. And to talk about that in a bit more detail, I've got Paul de Rozarieux with me today. Paul, first of all, mate, thank you very much for making the journey down here and for the lovely lunch that we just had before getting this started. So
you're more than welcome. Thanks so much for having me. It's brilliant to be here. Definitely.
Mate, thank you, honestly. So look, beyond the founder. Before we even go on to that, actually, your kind of LinkedIn activity is what kind of brought you to my attention. In that, you're doing all the right things with terms of personal brand and getting yourself out there and that kind of stuff, which is where kind of my interest peaked, and we ended up being in very similar WhatsApp groups and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this guy is literally everywhere, which is funny because that's what people say to me all the time. Like, I see you everywhere and I don't know what you do. So I was really keen to do this first episode of the three that we're going to do together, to put a bit of spotlight on Beyond the Founder, because I think, knowing what I know about it now, I think it's a great concept and a great project that you've kind of decided to embark on. And I think for everyone to understand what it is and where you're going, a good place to start is kind of where you've come from to get you to this point. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So just tell us a bit about your kind of background and sort of where you've been.
Okay, so my background, very quickly, my entry into the recruitment world was totally by default. I had been working for a family business that was very high growth. So I graduated and was going to do a master's, but my dad very wisely decided that I should go and work for him. He had a business in manufacturing that was growing rapidly.
Amazing. And
rather than do another year, get into more debt, we just felt, he asked me what I wanted to achieve, and I very clearly wanted to do something in business, which is what the master's was around. And we just felt I was going to learn more working for him than I would have done studying anymore. So the deal was very simply, I'd go in a low-level sales role for him. They manufactured radiator cabinets for the likes of Wix and B&Q Homebase. When I started, it was just Wix. It grew after that. But the deal was that I would go to every board meeting, client meeting, supplier meeting, keep my mouth shut and my ears open, and from there I would ask questions. I'd stay down with him, ask questions, and learn that way. So you're learning tangibly about business live.
Yeah.
Did that for a few years. The business grew from sort of 30 to 250 odd people, maybe more than that, across 2 different countries in Eastern Europe and the UK. Some massive clients we were servicing as well. But cost of production increased, and my dad decided to shut the UK factory, move it to Eastern Europe, all of it to Eastern Europe, which was a fully functioning factory. At which point I had a choice to spend more time over there or stay in the UK. If I stayed in the UK, I didn't have a job effectively, because even though there was clients here, my dad wanted us with him, me and my brother, who was running the business with him.
Right, okay.
So we both decided we were going to go off and do our own thing. And at the time, I'd noticed that the business was spending a fortune with recruitment agencies, just as it was growing, permanent and contract. And it wasn't being done brilliantly, to be fair. It was a big problem in terms of staffing up and getting the right people in. So I'd, in the background, created a plan to take it in-house, which... sounds, as I said before, sounds quite naive when you say it back, but it's what I genuinely believe we could do. So when the opportunity came and we were made redundant, effectively, rather than look at getting another job, I took that plan and started a recruitment agency.
Yeah, first.
Literally with a Yellow Pages, I think Yale.com had just come out at that point, and a phone, rented an office in Liverpool, and literally started hitting the phones with no training, no experience, but a belief that I could do it better than I'd experienced.
How did prospects take to that when you get a BD call from somebody who doesn't sound like a recruiter at all?
Do you know what? It actually worked because I was honest with people.
Yeah.
So rather than try and make out I was this big brand, I said, look, this is where I've come from. I understand how business works. I understand how the growth. And once I started talking about that narrative and people asked me questions around, so what would you do in this situation, or how would you grow that, or this team does that, and I could answer those questions, it gave you credibility.
Yeah.
Once I then understood my narrative, my whole philosophy was I had to know exactly who you needed and why, and then go and find that person. There was no compromise. I needed to find as close to the ideal candidate as I could get. And it just grew that way, to be fair.
Best. Okay. And so that was, so you was that straight into Fusion shirts?
No, so
I'm really struggling to say that, aren't I?
mate, there's a long story here. I don't think we've got time to cover all of it, but it was hard at first. You know, you're scrapping, you're fighting, even though the concept was good, you're competing with brands, with agencies. At Liverpool, the salaries were lower, the fees were a lot lower. And so very quickly it became clear that there wasn't enough really for two of us. My brother had 2 young kids, he had a family. I was the only person billing. We had a major disagreement on how it was going to go forward. Unfortunately, led to me not speaking to him for 3 years, actually. But I then took it on my own and literally hit the phones, started BDing. And at the time, Liverpool was great, but I realised I had to look outside of it. I had to look outside of bigger salaries and different roles. So I started targeting people I knew in different geographies, and it grew from there. The challenge I had was that when I was growing the business, I wasn't. At the time, there was a lot of generalists, right? You didn't have to be a niche at that point. You just didn't. There was some niches. But I would literally go in, be given a role, do well, be passed on to someone else in the business, do another role. So my whole business grew from referrals, filling really tricky roles that people didn't quite understand what they needed.
Yeah.
So I ended up growing a business very successfully without having a focus or a niche or a core market.
Yeah.
Trying to take people on to grow is very difficult to do that because you don't
Yeah,
know where
because you're trying to find somebody who understands the world in the same way that you do, right? And I get that. I get that from a very experienced perspective in that when my recruitment business was just the 2 of us, that's what we would do. We would take not anything and everything on, but we would get given specialist projects and bits of recruitment that other agencies have maybe had a crack at and not got anywhere with, and we would deliver because we would get really under the skin of it and try and figure it out more out of kind of curiosity than anything else, right? But you can't teach that to people. You either are that kind of individual or you're not. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, I used to turn, my philosophy was very simply, if I can't fill it, I won't take it on. I don't speculate. So I've got to be really sure by understanding exactly what someone needs that I can fill it. The challenge with that is the brilliant thing was that I didn't have to BD after the first 3 years for a long time. The challenge is you don't know what your next role is going to be, so you can't resource up, you can't recycle candidates because
you're sat there with the database like full of health and safety managers, senior buyers, accountancy, finance graduates, and CFOs and CMOs as well. Yeah,
and then you've got a load of roles coming in, which could be a mixture of all of those things. So you just start from.
Then you get a sales director role coming, and you're like, fuck. Okay,
yeah, exactly. Damn. But I did try and grow it, and we did take people on. It didn't quite work. And what eventually happened was Fusion was doing well. We narrowed it down to working with financial services banks, and that was a case of people that I'd been working with had moved into those businesses.
But that's still niching. That's sector niche, isn't it? Rather than kind of vertical.
It's sector niched down, and it sort of narrowed itself right down to risk and compliance, HR, and change and transformations of project and program delivery.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And that was what I kind of settled on. It was the right level, bigger salaries, the fees were good. It was predominantly in around London and Edinburgh, which is where the core bases are.
Yeah.
But again, I was trying to grow something that was very difficult to scale. And then in about 2017, I tried to take a young guy on who was in construction recruitment.
Okay.
And he was doing really, really great things around the Midlands. Offered him a job. He was counter-offered and stayed where he was. I'm thinking, oh, damn, this is like the one person that I think could actually do this.
Yeah, okay.
I was going to give him the banks to work. But he was counter-offered to stay where he was. But 6 months later, he came back to me and said, look, I don't want to work for you, but I want to set up on my own.
Yeah.
So he said, will you back me? So he said, I want to learn what you learn, I want to do what you do, and we can grow this together because I want to scale the business. So we did that. We set up, he had restrictive covenants at the time. So luckily, 2 of my close friends, I know a lot of people in construction. And so we had doors we could open.
You could, get him a start.
And we did that. And it started growing out. And the philosophy was for the first 18 months, I just want to learn what you learn and we'll learn business because A lot of people and founders, and we'll talk about this later, will go on their own because they're great billers.
Yeah.
They understand recruitment.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of running a business and what comes with that, and the financial aspect, the operational aspect,
That's the bit they're not good at. Yeah.
they're not good at. And it normally,
Yeah.
in a lot of the time, it's the downfall.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex was clever in that he wanted to learn that side of it. So he sat next to me and he started learning all that side of it. When we felt he'd got a handle on that, we started growing out the team, took a couple of people on, then COVID hit. And even though construction didn't stop from a temp focus, because there was it was one of those critical roles in COVID.
Yeah. No, but
Permanent
it
hiring
kind of
stopped.
was, but kind of, it still struggled, really got hit, didn't
Stopped,
it?
yeah, it stopped, and it was a lot. That year, effectively, Fusion effectively stopped because the permanent hiring stopped.
Mm.
And we were lucky that we'd had, well, it wasn't lucky, we'd run the businesses both in a way that we had finances, so we weren't going to struggle for the period. But it just meant that the plans to grow it was stilted and stopped. And of course, then we managed to get through that. COVID started, and things restarted after COVID, and the boom happened. You're trying to hire people after the boom, mate. Just forget it.
Yeah.
And people aren't moving. Everyone's making money. It was the glory, the best I've seen recruitment in 20 years.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, again, we made the decision, heads down. We knew it was a bubble. I knew it was a bubble. It always happens. Head down, make as much money as you possibly can, reputationally get yourself as solid as you can, and then when things start to turn, then you look to grow again. So that was the plan, but then there was a spanner put in the works. So that was my future. SearchCo was going to be the scalable business. Fusion was doing its thing, profitable. It was me. I can manage that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just keep that running BAU whilst growing SearchCo.
That's it.
But Alex got married and decided that he didn't want to grow it. He wanted a lifestyle business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him. He was making really good money. The business was profitable.
Yeah.
But from my side, I didn't want two lifestyle businesses.
Yeah, you already had that. Yeah.
I had it, but what's the point of having another one? So we agreed a deal whereby I'd exit that business.
Yeah.
And at the time, I was fine. I get it, and I got pittance to the value. It wasn't about making money. It was about something giving him the opportunity to carry on and grow that business.
Yeah.
But what I didn't think would happen was that when we separated and I was bought and I exited, it was kind of like your future is almost gone. The plan you had is no longer there.
Yeah. You're taking a board rubber to a certain part of it, aren't you? Because you're like, there's the roadmap, and here's the things I've done so far, and here's what's left, and then you're now having to go, hang on a minute, what does it look like now?
There's a hole. There's a hole, right?
Yeah.
So you stop and you actually realise, shit, for the last 5 years I've been running on adrenaline, really, since COVID and getting this through and whatnot. And so I decided look, I need to stop now. I burnt out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I burnt out. I knew I wasn't enjoying it. The thought of going back to just Fusion with just me and Luce for another 10 years, wasn't interested.
Yeah.
And I love my clients and I love the people I work with, but to take people on to grow it out again, it needed a lot more energy than I wanted to give it.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know what, take some time out. First time in my career, 20 years, that I could actually take some time out financially.
Yeah, just press that pause button for a bit.
Just
Yeah.
bang. And I took 4 months off.
Mm.
And in that time, I actually was so thinking, I'm just going to leave recruitment. I'm done with it. I've done 20 years. We've done all right out of it.
Yeah.
What else can I do? But it was a conversation with my wife, and we were both like, the advice I would give someone if they had been institutionalised in a role, and I offered them a role in a competitor, and they said to me, I just want to leave the industry. I'd say, well, maybe it's the business. Have a think about it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not every company's the same. So I thought that maybe it's just the way I'm doing it. Do I need to change, work out what I love and what I'm passionate about?
Yeah.
And flip it, because I've seen one very small side of it, and there's so much more that I've got to give in terms of knowledge, in terms of
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah. Am I disenfranchised with the industry, or am I disenfranchised with what I've been doing within it?
Fantastic, exactly right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I hear that. I went through exactly the same.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a process really that you go through mentally, because the first thing you got to do is stop and let it all settle down.
Yeah.
And then you got to think, shit, do I miss this? And I was missing it. I was missing the engagement and the interaction. But then you got to work out a way of playing to your strengths. And the one thing that became really clear, and I did a lot of work with Hoxo on this, they were absolutely phenomenal. And I went to them, and whereas most people will go and say, create me a brand or whatever, I didn't. I said, help me create a niche.
Yeah.
It was a totally different type of proposition. But it became very clear that I loved, when I was in mixing with other founders, which I'd never done before, and I'm offering value and I'm getting value and we're having conversations and you're talking about what you know, I just really reignited a passion. But what I didn't want to do was work in our industry as a rec to rec, because there's phenomenal people doing that. It's not a market. The roles I recruit are C-level, C-1, so board level, director level, head of. They are strategic hires. They are transformational in terms of leading a team, growing a team, building out a business unit. So I wanted to keep doing that level of hire. It's where I do my best work and where we do our best work. But I wanted to bring that into the recruitment industry. So we looked at, right, okay, let's look at the key strategic non-billing hires. The world is changing. The agency world is changing. There's a realization that you have to do things differently. AI is going to come in and automate a lot of the lower end processes.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of the sourcing element, I think, away from recruitment. So what people are going to actually have to do is run a business that isn't dependent on the founder or one or two billers. How do you do that? Well, you're going to need to get strategic with your hiring. And we just felt there was a gap for someone who had been a founder themselves for 20 years, had been up and down and understands that cycle, understands the pain points, but also is really passionate about helping businesses to grow. And I've done it on cycles years after year after year.
Yeah.
Bringing that together to our industry, we just felt beyond the founder was something a little bit unique and very much needed in the industry. And there we are.
No, I like it. Yeah, and it is. And look, the thing that people kind of often, I think, overlook within sort of business and chasing a startup dream or whatever is timing is everything. You know, sometimes there's things that are just not quite right. Do you know what I mean? The time's not right for it. Your idea is maybe too advanced, or the industry's not ready for what you're trying to do, and that kind of thing. Whereas actually, with everything we've discussed, kind of off camera and stuff, your proposition is basically what me and my old business partner used to talk about. 2 years ago, where we'd go, we shouldn't be running desks. You know, we've got a team of people that we pay, and who are also trying to bill, and unfortunately they feel like they're in competition with us. Me outbilling my sort of 3 people on the tech and digital desk that I was running. That doesn't do anything for their self-esteem. That doesn't help them. And actually, if I'm actively billing, I'm not supporting them because I haven't got time to do both effectively. I can't effectively do both at the same time. And so we'd always kind of be like, maybe it's time we look at a non-billing manager. But then we'd always land on the fact that, well, hang on, isn't a non-billing manager just basically we're bringing somebody in to run the business for us? Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
and you're right. There's 3 or 4 different points there, and they're all really, really valid. First of all, in terms of what I see talking to founders all the time and having been one myself, you're quite right. The value in what you're doing is not in you being the biggest biller in your business.
No.
Because you can never scale.
Yeah.
You can't scale because to take you out of it for any period of time, you lose too much money.
That's it.
You can't train people up to the right level. No. So you've almost got to start.
And that's not a sellable business either.
It's not scalable. You've got to start with the end in mind. What do you want from this? Because even if you want a good lifestyle business, the irony of it is, right, if you build yourself a great lifestyle business where you truly have a lifestyle, so you're not needed, that's sellable.
Yeah.
People will acquire that because it doesn't need you.
That's it.
But if it's everything's dependent on you, and you've got that yo-yo cycle where typically, right, you're billing, BD drops off. Right, so you jump on BD, then delivery drops off. So it becomes a yo-yo cycle where you're dependent on either the founder or 1 or 2 big billers. It's not sustainable, it's not scalable. The problem you've got with it, and I get this because I've been there, there's a number of reasons why people wouldn't want a non-billing manager. One is because structurally they're not set up for it because the founders are doing the billing, right? And there's a worry. So if you go into a business and you start a recruitment agency because you're a big biller, which typically people do, that's all they do. They know how to bill. They might know how to run a team. They might know how to do KPIs, but they don't understand the rest that goes on around running a business. So you go in, you become the big biller. What do you do then, Nitin, if I bring in an MD who's going to take that role off you?
Look, I know what my answer would be, and that's what I did, right?
Yeah.
I started RecTools, started the RecTalk podcast. I was looking at events and stuff that we could host, business development activity that was more than just picking up the phone and pitching who we are and what we do, right? That's what I would do. But unfortunately, not everyone's wired the same way that I am. And there are people out there who'd be like, well, without without having that as my job, I don't know what to do.
It's a fear.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're scared.
Yeah.
They're scared that they become redundant in their own business because they don't know what else they can do.
Yeah.
The second thing is it's a non-billing hire, so they're not making money straight away from this person.
Then there's like return on investment.
Return on investment. Where's my return on investment? So you're scared. But what I see the best businesses doing is they make that decision. And always when I speak to a founder, they always say the same thing: I wish I'd done it sooner.
Yeah.
Because once you extract yourself from that, you start doing the things you've been talking about. Rather than being dependent on one or two big billers, you create a team of average billers.
Yeah.
And the team, so you're not dependent on one or two.
No.
And if one of them goes, then you can replace them. But more important than that, if you create a system and structure around them, that team of average billers overperform.
Mm-hmm.
They overperform because of the system, the process, the ongoing training, etc., that you give them.
Yeah.
So they're not going to leave you, because if they do, they're not going to be as good as they are with you.
They're not going to be as successful elsewhere.
They're not going to. You're setting them up to succeed.
Yeah.
So you've got engaged people earning well, working above their level,
Mm-hmm.
that are happy and engaged. You've got a manager or a director above them running that, so you're not having to worry about it. You're just getting the reporting, you're getting the numbers, and you're getting the reporting. But then you're thinking about strategically how to grow the business. And you don't have to be a huge business to do this. I know people that are doing it with 4 staff, right? But the founder is off doing what they need to do. They've just invested really well at the front end to make sure they're set up to then grow.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. So, but okay. So you got what? I wish we could do it. What some would argue. I'm trying to word this in the right way. Right. That some would argue that having a managing consultant or a senior manager or a manager or whatever, billing manager, in some businesses that already exists, right? Having a person whose job is to manage the staff, but also at the same time put some money on the board. So why would you then take that billing element away and just give them the people responsibility?
Great question. And 2 things I'll say to that. First of all, I think that billing manager, I've never seen a happy billing manager. A long-term happy billing manager, because typically you're taking all the grief and all the flack, probably getting less money than certain people that you're billing. And where do you go from there? Yeah. Because if you were going to be elevated above a billing position, you probably would have done it by that point, but you're too valuable to the business while you're billing. If you then go and get another job, what are they bringing you on for? To be a billing manager? Yeah, you become valuable for. So where you can do that, but what you're then by default is becoming dependent on a billing manager.
Yeah,
and they haven't got time to strategically develop and run that team. They just haven't, because they're billing as well. Mm-hmm. It can be done, and there's people that do it exceptionally well. But that then depends on how strong the leadership team is as well. So it can be done.
You're always replacing the problem, aren't you?
You're replacing the problem with the problem.
The reason you're even having the discussion about bringing a non-billing manager in is because you can't do both billing and manage, and it's your business.
Yeah.
It's your name above the fucking door.
Exactly.
And you're struggling, but you're now thinking by paying somebody to do both, they'll be better, or they'll do it better.
But what are you going to do then? You'd be doing it anyway.
That's it.
So again, I'll come back to your point. Do you want, let's take some round numbers, a billing manager doing 300 grand a year, managing 3 people doing 100 grand a year each?
Yeah.
And you're dependent on that one person, really? Or do you want someone not billing and he's got a team of 4 or 5 doing 250, 300 grand a year each? Because he's got the ability and the support to be able to get them to that point.
Yeah.
Or she.
And I suppose the key thing we're also kind of ignoring here is that you're now free to do
exactly
just billing if that's what you so wish to do, right? If as a business owner you've acknowledged that actually your strength isn't in the people side, it is in the billing side. You've brought this non-billing manager in to focus on the people and their development and their billing as a collective. You can still focus on the billing and actually probably produce more than what you had been doing without the distractions of having to do the people management as well.
If that's what you do, and I work with someone who does exactly that. They've got a small team and the founder bills 7 figures a year because they've got someone running their team.
Yeah.
And no one knows who their client is. They don't shout about it. It's not a competition, but they're really happy because that's what they love doing. Most of the time, and I'll say this with respect, 95% of all the founders I talk to, and I talk to a lot, and we're engaging with a lot, the biggest problem is themselves, the bottleneck.
Yeah.
They become the bottleneck in their own business because they don't step out of the way and let the business become what it should be as a business. They're a solopreneur with staff, effectively, and it becomes so. How do you scale that? Where does it grow? And we're talking about a lot about the 2IC, the second in command, the MD here. But once you get that person in place and you start strategically looking at your business, you look at your finance, you look at your operations, you look at your marketing, you look at your quality control, you look at all those other aspects that all need to be strategically developed.
Yeah.
So, but you can't do that until you have the time freed up. You were talking off camera about something you're doing, and you mentioned 3 cornerstones that you've got in place: marketing, finance, and operations.
Yeah.
It's the first thing you've done is got them people lined up.
Yeah.
Because you cannot scale your business, or
It's just not going to work without it. Yeah.
Right? But if you were doing everything, how do you possibly make it work?
No, chance.
You can't. So it's not about just bringing in that one strategic hire. What it is it's setting people up so that founders, if they want to, can either create a true lifestyle business, or they can scale and exit. But having those foundational hires in place and people in place to do it.
I'm with you. And what's been the reception then from because again, I know you well enough to know that you're not cold calling anybody selling this, right? You're very much like me. Build it and they will come. I'll build it. I'll talk about it. I'll let everyone know what it is, and people will sell it to themselves.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
How's the reception been on this then? When you are speaking to business owners and saying, "Listen, you might be the problem here."
Yeah. Do you know what? It's people. Thankfully, the people that I'm talking to know that.
Yeah.
They know there's a problem. It's very much an education piece in that they don't always know what the problem is or what the solution is.
Yeah.
So my job, and it's the part of the job I love, is sitting down, understanding where the bottlenecks are, how that needs to work, and putting a solution in place. So it's educating them on what the solution needs to be, then giving them the freedom and time to think and understand and put that strategy in place. Because it's a big move, right? It's a massively informed decision. They need to understand it's right for their business. But once they know that there is an issue and they've come to me, they're not coming to me because it's perfect. They're coming because they've got a challenge.
Yeah. And it's the start of a journey.
It's the start of a journey. So what I want to be on that journey with them from the beginning, not NEDing, not in that capacity, but just understanding and building out and helping them build out the structure.
But again, Paul, we spoke about this off camera as well, though, right? In the a lot of people do just want somebody else to talk to, and that's where it kind of starts.
Yeah, that's where it starts.
And you know, I use the analogy of, like, you know, the best farmer in the world can sow 1,000 seeds, but that doesn't mean that those 1,000 seeds will turn to thousands of crops, right? It doesn't always work that way. Some seeds won't sow, and you could be the best farmer in the world and that won't happen. But it's having those conversations early stage with as many people as you can, where you are planting those little seeds of, look, there is a better way, there is a different way, you know. It might not be right for you today. It might be something you want to consider tomorrow, you know. It might not be something you consider at all. But you need to know that this exists. The concept exists. You don't have to do it the way that you did it for the last 10, 15 years. We're in a very different world that we're heading into now. And perhaps it's time to try something different.
Massively. And you know what? A lot of people are starting to realise that there's a massive change that's come. And you've got to set your business up differently. You can't be reliant on a team of builders anymore.
No.
You've got your marketing's got to be on point. Financially, system-wise, there's that much going on. People are bleeding cash on systems they don't need.
Yeah.
And as they grow, that's fine when you're small, but as you grow, taking your payroll in-house, taking your contract book in-house, just generally looking at your finance and systems and making the most and leveraging that is really important. Compliance-wise, you know, just in terms of generally running the business day-to-day strategically, getting a really good MD in is so important. People are realising that stuff is as important as a billing team. They just don't realise how to bring it in. So for me, I love the conversations, and I'm more than happy to have as many as I need to.
Amazing.
Because as you said, it might not come off straight away, but I can tell you that the response is, you know, we're working with people already, and it's...
Oh, there's no doubt. There's no doubt, because people have been on a journey since kind of really COVID times, right?
Yeah.
2020 onwards, people have been on a journey, and they've kind of gone, I keep defaulting back to how I used to do it, and how I used to do it used to yield results. It doesn't anymore.
Yeah.
What the hell do I do? And, you know, along the way, they've seen people that they would consider competitors, you know, go insolvent and shut down. They've seen people who they would have considered to be nobodies fire ahead, you know, in terms of brands that they now compete with. And so the whole landscape is changing.
Mate, I was listening to a podcast yesterday. I won't say the name, but it's a
Yeah, you can shout them out, man. I'm not precious about that.
It was Joe Gianni's on Sean's podcast.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And at one point in it, Sean asks him...
That's the Rag Is it the Rag Report?
The Rag podcast.
Oh, right. Rag podcast.
At one point, Sean asks him, what is the secret to success? And the first thing he says is, get your leadership team in place. And they've just gone from 0 to 70 people in 4 years.
Yeah.
They've just had a massive investment from private equity. And the first thing he says is get your leadership team. Because if you don't have that, I interviewed another guy who's coming to my podcast, be on my podcast in a couple of weeks, Paul Heslop. He said the same thing. You know, these are...
Shout him out.
There's Paul Heslop.
Paul Heslop. Well, yeah, we've spoken about him. Yeah.
And there's another... I've got countless of these, but they all say the same thing in a roundabout way.
Yeah.
It's now, if you truly want to build something, and if you want to be a solopreneur, that's fine. But understand that you never really have a lifestyle business. You're always almost a slave to your own business.
Yeah.
But if you
Look, you can call it a lifestyle business, but you're not really defining what you mean by what type of lifestyle, though, right? Yeah,
exactly.
You just assume that lifestyle business means kick back, relax on a beach somewhere, and do a bit of recruitment every now and then. That world's done. That don't exist anymore.
Doesn't happen.
There's a lot of effort you've got to put in to be able to make those handful of placements a month as a solopreneur.
And when you're on holiday, you've got to be available.
That's
you've got to
it.
be on point. You've got to be on call.
That's it.
I mean, you know,
if you're sat there watching your daughters play and that phone rings and it's that client, guess what? There isn't anyone else to answer the phone.
You've got to do it.
You've
got to make an excuse to ring back
That's
after. You know, so that's brilliant, and that's a nice. People can create a nice life, a balance, a work-life balance, whatever you want to call it. But to create a proper lifestyle business, which has got longevity, because it wears you down as well. You know that 5, 10, 15
both been there.
years, it wears you down.
Yeah.
So if you put that structure in place very, very quickly, where you have the key people supporting, and look, it might not be that you need a hire. There might be someone in your business already that can do it. That's fine. It might be a business partner, and you look at how you structure it slightly separately. That's fine. The point is, you need that team
the plan, though, isn't it? See, I had this. I was on Dave Jenkins' Wave Talent Matters podcast, and he asked me on that sort of like what's the most important thing when you're starting a business, and I was like, business plan. It's got to be your business plan, because that business plan is your Bible. Right, you've got to think about. No, it's not just a case of I've got clients ready, I've got candidates ready, I'm good to go, I've got a business. No, you've got to have a business plan, and that business plan isn't just a bit of paper that you jot down to put in front of a funder and say, here you go, I've got a business plan. It's this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. This is who we are. This is what our what our mission is, or vision is, or statement is about. This is what problem we're going to solve, and this is how we're going to do it. This is the type of people I want in my business. This is the culture that I'm going to build. And these are the types. So when you say like start with your leadership team, that feeds into that business plan, right? Because I made this mistake. 2017, I set up my recruitment business. I remember having the conversation. It was towards the end of 2018. Me and my business partner are sat, and we've taken on this little office space, and I'm happy, man. I'm good. We've not long just my second child was not long. My wife was going to give birth to our second child. I've got a couple of investment properties. I've got this. I've got that. I mean, I've got the car that I've always wanted. All that sort of stuff. I'm making a decent living. I'm cool. I'm happy. And he's like, we need to grow. We need to scale. We need to do this. We need to do that. I was like, I don't need to do fuck all, mate. I'm pretty good. And he's like, no. But I've got to do this, and I want to remortgage, and I want to get my bathroom done, and I want to get this done. We need to earn more money. We need to scale this business. I want staff. I want people to look at our business as like wow, they've really made it. And I was like,
I've made it now, Dad.
Yeah, I'm cool, man. I'm chill. I don't need this. Yeah. And he was like, well, no, but I do. I've promised my niece a job, and my wife wants to work here, and my brother's going to work here, and this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, rah, okay. No, you need this. Yeah. This is just something I do.
You hit on something.
This is something that's, do you know what I mean?
I do.
And fundamentally, we were on the wrong path right from the start.
Yeah, you were. When you said you hit on something, and this is an exercise that I go through with everyone I talk to, and actually it's a part of the service. As long as if they don't have to take it if they don't want to, but I strongly advise. And it is you've got to understand your values, behaviours, attitudes. You've got to understand your mission and your purpose. If you don't have that, and I know it sounds, people think that sounds or whatever, but no, if you are going to define and create a business, a true business that isn't you have to understand the DNA of that business from day one.
Yeah.
And values, culture, behaviours, mission, all your purpose, all of that clearly defined. And when you take people on or you do anything, clients, candidates, employees, it's got to be aligned to those things. And if you start with that and you start with those key points, then you'll build something successful.
That's it. But you should be able to pick up your business plan, give it to somebody who kind of knows you, whether they're a supplier to you or whether they're a customer of yours or a candidate of yours or whatever. They should be able to read that mission statement or vision statement for your business and go, yeah, that accurately.
I get it. Yeah.
That's you guys. This is your business plan because that's what you guys are like. But if it's all about, we do this and we aim to do this and we aim to do that and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, well, you do completely the fucking opposite of this.
The buzzwords, mate. You're not doing any of that.
Your staff are always churning and, there's no aftercare and you don't do this and you don't do any of that. Well, actually, you're not being true to, you're not thinking about your fundamental vision as a business. What you're doing is you're just trying to make a living.
Buzzwords.
It's ticking a box. Just, we're doing that. And then they're the ones that are going to, they're the ones that have, over the last 5 years, really struggled. Because we did, as a business, my recruitment business failed for a multitude of different reasons that all kind of culminated in just a fuck up. But there were things like that, not having a clear vision or BSing our way through what our vision was. When you've got two people who own the business, both pointing in different directions and pulling in different directions, that's not good for the team.
No, do you know what? So Lucy and I, when we started Beyond the Founder, we went through a paid process to define and make sure we were defining a coaching program. It was to make sure we defined our values and behaviors, and we did it together. Because if we're going to be working together as husband and wife,
it's got to be our vision.
It's got to be our vision. It's got to be right. It's got to be both. And it was such a powerful thing. And at the end of that, now we are both so clearly aligned on where this thing needs to go. And it's going to it carries through in everything we're doing, through your job descriptions, to your onboarding, to your training, to your development. Everything you look to do going forward lives and breathes by those values. And you're absolutely right. If you haven't got that, it's very, very difficult. At some point, the wheels fall off. So
is it? Yeah, it's not real, is it? Really? So, let me challenge the theory for a second, though. If you've got somebody who is capable of not billing, but increasing the billing of a team of 5 to 7 people, by kind of, a percentage a percentage enough to more than cover his or her own cost and put profit back into the business. So we're talking a considerable uplift then. Why would they not just run their own recruitment business?
Well, a number of reasons. Yeah, no, you're right. First of all, if someone is great in terms of delivery, are they any good at business development and bringing work in? You can have the...
But they might not need to be. Because if all I need to do is go and, if all I need to do, like investors grow on trees, but if all I need to do is go and convince an investor that, listen, I am an amazing recruitment ops manager, or recruitment ops director, I need you to front me X amount of money to allow me to bring on my first 2 billers, and within the first 6 months, I expect profitability to be here, because then I will add another head in and another head in and another head in.
People do
this
do
person
that.
doesn't ever need to pick up the phone and make a BD call, right?
But it's the same as saying, why doesn't every good biller go on their own?
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. People don't want to do it. They don't want it. They don't have the money to do it. They don't have the knowledge. Some people just don't want the aggro.
Don't have the desire.
They don't have the desire to do it.
I'm with you.
So it's the same thing. There is a whole candidate pool out there of exceptional people that are working in organisations where they're hamstrung or they're glass ceilinged and there's no out, because we're going to swap one for another, swap like for like. Whereas there's a whole pool of agencies, small to medium-sized agencies, that need them people. It's bringing them together. And that's...
it sounds like almost as these agencies that are now going through this journey and working with you, though, they're going through this almost notion of growing up, right?
Yeah.
Sort of like we're maturing. Growing up is unfair. That sounds a bit kind of like childish, but I mean maturing as a business.
They could be pivoting. There's something that needs to change.
They're sort of they're going no. We were good. We want to be great. Exactly. This is the journey we're going on. Fine, but does that then mean that they need to kind of amend the way they are as a business? Like, does that impact culture? Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't see myself as my old recruitment business the way it was. I couldn't see us being able to attract somebody with the caliber of what you're describing, because they would have, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they probably walked in and thought, what a bunch of clowns.
But that's half the challenge. Right? So that's half the challenge, because if you've got someone, this person is going to be taking a risk to leave what they're doing typically. And the reason they won't start on their own is because they don't like risk, right? Yeah. So, but that's a challenge. As long as you've got the values and the values piece right, so they align and they're bought into the vision, because that is a chance to say, right, you don't want to start on your own, but you're going to go in somewhere with the potential to be a partner.
Yeah.
At some point, you have to prove that. You're going to earn money. They're secure because the businesses we work with, it's not speculative. They've been successful. They just need to change something.
Yeah.
So financially, they can afford to make these improvements and these changes.
Yeah,
it's not drawn at a desperate measure. So you're going in somewhere which is as secure as anything can be nowadays. But it's got a blank canvas. So all this stuff you've learned, all this stuff you know, you can take that,
come in and be
implement it, and run it, and
best bits. Yeah.
what you're good at and what you know, and implement and apply all of that. That creates a challenge in itself, because a lot of the things someone might have been doing in a bigger organisation, they might not have the budget or they might not have the leverage to do what they want to do. So you've got to make sure that you're marrying the two things up correctly, and that's our job, right, to match the people correctly.
Yeah.
But what an opportunity if you don't want to go on your own, but you want something different and a challenge and be a real part of something where you're actively making a difference and creating impact from day one and ongoing as a part of a genuine journey.
But then you've kind of skipped over the important part there, though, isn't it? The your job then is to figure out, actually, yes, I've got 12 opportunities. You're only really right for 4 of them.
Yeah, of course.
Because I've got to know you well enough to know which one of my 12 opportunities are going to tick all those boxes 100%. For you. Yeah.
And that's why the values piece is so important at the outset, because once we've put the founder and their leadership team through a values process where we do the psychometric testing and look at the values, then we know as best you can the type of people that will match their business.
Yeah.
And then you match. So we do as much as we can on the front end through the process and onboarding, and we've got an onboarding package as well, to make sure that we're setting people up for success, bringing the right person in, making sure the alignment's there and they're going to be successful ongoing. Because A, you want every hire to be successful. That's what we do. But B, for the founder's plan to come to fruition, this person needs to work. And that then opens the door to the rest of the opportunity. So it's an evolution and ongoing process, and you've got to get it right at every stage. So we're prepared to put in, well, we're not prepared, we put in the upfront to make sure we're getting it right as best as possible.
I like that. And so then, okay, no, brilliant. That's no further questions from me on that one, Your Honour, because that makes like perfect sense to me, mate. And I'm really genuinely excited to see kind of where this kind of boils down to and kind of branches out into, really. Tell me about your podcast then. So you've filmed how many episodes now?
I filmed 5, 6. I'm doing 3 more this week, 1 next week. So it'll be a 9 or 10 episode series 1. But to be honest, I'll just keep it running. The premise is slightly different in that there's some really great founder-led podcasts. Yours is one of them. Sean Hisham, there's the Miller Brothers. There's a few flying around. Alicia Holmes does one. But what I want to focus on is, yes, there will be founders, but there'll also be people beyond the founder, the number 2s, the marketing directors, the finance directors, operations people, and there'll be exited founders who are NEDs, if you like. And the focus of it all is going to be what has made it successful, what has made it work for you.
Yeah.
And it will be showing this is what you need to be a successful founder, not just their journey, but what they've tangibly done. And talking to the people behind the scenes, to show that you can have a fantastic career without being a founder.
Yeah.
To show the impact you can have, to show the people's different journeys and their stories and how they got to that position. Because there's always a leap of faith somewhere.
Yes.
There's always a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And it's talking to people and seeing how they achieved that and what the result was. Honest, unfiltered, unscripted, a bit like this.
I love that.
And just having a really good conversation with people and showing the wider world there is life beyond the founder.
Yeah, no, I love that. And episodes for that drop every Monday, don't they?
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Tuesday at 1 o'clock.
Tuesday, 1 o'clock. There you go.
So when is this? This will be going live?
The Wednesdays, as are every Wednesday. And I think from January or mid-February, we're going to do two a week. But yeah, as it stands here, we've always been Wednesday, 6 a.m.
So I don't know when how many will be into mine by that point, but it's always very different sitting here to sitting.
Yeah, it is, mate. It's just, no, but honestly, mate, this has been really fun. How do people that are watching that are maybe in that RecOps world that want to, reach out to you, connect with you, I don't know, register with you, or maybe just start that line of comms with you? Yeah. How do they get in touch with you, mate?
As a founder wanting to go on the journey, or someone looking to make that move, I'm delighted to talk, even if it's just exploratory and wanting a conversation to introduce. It's fine. The best way to do it is to DM me, connect with me, or DM me via LinkedIn.
Yeah, excellent.
If you can spell the surname. And,
it'll be in the description, guys. Don't you stress about it.
And I'll always reach back. I'll always come back to people. And
yeah.
And want to speak to as many people as I can.
Amazing, mate. Honestly, genuinely, this has been an absolute pleasure, mate. Really,
It's been a pleasure
appreciate
for me as well.
taking
Thank
the
you so
time.
much.
That's it for another episode, guys. We'll see you again next Wednesday. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and doing all the cool shit that you guys do to keep us growing at the rate that we are. By the time this goes out, I think we'd have well exceeded 30,000 subscribers on YouTube. So again, thank you very much. We're nearly at the 100k mark. And when we do, we'll have a nice little plaque over here to celebrate. But we'll see you again next time. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, right. That was good.
Was it all right?
Yeah. That was very good. Just get me to come and turn everything off.
Cheers, mate. You never quite know how it's gone from your side.